for joining me today. I'm Zina Bribois, writer for the Beyond the Ideological, and I'm very lucky today to have with me the Chief External Affairs Officer of the PPF Group, Jan Růžička. Jan's secretary to academia and other things. Why don't you just tell us about really the world today? I mean, you've moved between governments and multilateral institutions. How do you see, I mean, how your experiences have shaped the way you think about power and strategy today, especially that everything seems so chaotic?
So I spent first half of my professional life in politics and second half in business. At the end, PPF, we are private equity. We are largest company here in Central Europe, $45 billion of assets, telecommunication, media, e-commerce. We bought a lot of assets from Americans, especially from Ronald Lauder from New York. So we are largest media platform in Central Eastern Europe, which make us political. Yeah. And we run the business from really Vietnam to Tampa Bay, where we have our American headquarters. And from South Africa to Finland. So if I would super simplify how I see the world today, I would just say one-liner. Politics is more important than business. Power is more important than money. It's not a novelty. The world has been like that for 4,000 years. Yeah? With exception, and this exemption we can call it Francis Fukuyama, American liberal order. We can call it anti and eternal peace. We can call it post-Reagan world. Basically, last 30 years of unprecedented globalization, unprecedented victory of American flag, unilateralism of the world created opportunity for business in certain areas, certain domains to be more important than politics. And even, government acknowledge it. In Germany, there was a saying that Germany doesn't need to have a army or defense or security to think about it too much because, Germany buys Russian gas, have protection from United States and sell to Chinese. So there was no geopolitics for 30 years. It ended, I would say, first point, Crimea 2014, re-election of President Xi in China 2017, and uber nationalism of his second mandate, and then finally COVID. And now I really believe that even though if you are Jamie Dimon, number one banker in the world, and JP Morgan, the biggest bank in the world, Scott Bessent and Donald J. Trump are more powerful than you. That's it. So I would say this is I would say the simplified transformation, which especially for the people of the business who are now in their 60s. So basically throughout their professional life, they lived through this eternal peace and no geopolitics. For them, it's super complicated to get it.
And you think it's creating like tensions and wider polarization and all these frictions that you're just describing? Do you think this is like the source of the clash then?
I believe together with Aristoteles that politics is the top of the pyramid. This is who we are. We are at the end zone politikon. We are political animals. So I think that cleavage is natural. I think cleavage and clash is normal. Urban, countryside, old, young, left and right, indoorsy, outdoorsy. So I think it's pretty normal. I think that what changed, and this is part of another, I would say, big shift, that world is changing faster and faster. So I would combine this, that politics is now more important, and for many people this is complicated to grasp it again, even for governments. But then second thing is this change of the world. And I think, again, if I would simplify into one-liner, a lot of people feel that they are left behind. And it's not about salaries or opportunities, but, hey, I don't understand the world. It's too complex. I don't want it like that. And then I want to vote for leaders who will simplify it for me. So
Yeah.
I think the cleavage is natural. It's always here. Karl Marx rightly pointed out that history always repeats itself, first as a tragedy and then as a farce.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that now we have a tragedy of farce, but a lot of things happen already. You know, uh, big importance of business over politics. Just let's go to era of Teddy Roosevelt and American
Yeah.
monopolies. So
Yeah.
a lot of things happen already. But now I think that we really been able to sleep nicely for 30 years. So now it's wake up from the dream.
Yeah, exactly. And how do you see things? I mean, from the Czech Republic, also from like Europe. Because you said something I thought was very interesting, that there's a growing divide between the urban progressive elites and the rural traditionalists, especially in the Czech Republic. Is it something that you see in general? Or is it like specific to the Czech Republic? I would love for you to expand on that.
So I would say it's a little bit other way around. We are very, I think that we are happy as a Czech Republic, old Bohemian Kingdom, that we are not that divided. I do believe that in developed world, or let's call it collective West, three most clashed societies: United States, Poland, for sure, and certain degrees Slovakia. But of course in Czech Republic, and it's more than before. I would say again, because for your audience, we could spend a day discussing history of Central Europe and explaining to them. So I will again try to simplify.
Mm-hmm.
I think that politics is pendulum, and more you go in extreme one way, it's very natural then people will start be either bothered or bored or just detest it with one extreme, and then you switch to another one, and more, and basically then pendulum is heavy and then it
Yes.
shift to the other side. I think what happened, and I have many friends among progressives, I'm conservative, so I'm blaming them to destroying their own cause, their own world. Nothing bad about protecting LGBT rights. I even though I'm conservative Catholic, I don't have anything against same-sex marriage, because it's not on a government to tell us how we shall live. Yeah, so we love small states, so government shall have sort of like distance from Catholic marriage or religious marriage. And at the same time, my world is not your world, and no trespassing. This is what we live. But because progressives tried not to create multiple worlds living next to each other harmoniously, Catholics, Jews, LGBT, same-sex marriage, but they try to impose their vision on the world on everyone.
Mm.
In some areas, brutally, mutilating children. No way. The drugs, anti-hormone blockants for 7-year-old. This is awful. So logically, people who've been living under this spell of one extreme of a political pendulum now people vote against. The same is with immigration. Again, in Czech Republic, we are blessed. We are quite monocultural country. So we are not in a situation like Germany, France, or Britain. By the way, it created a lot of problems for us when Angela Merkel was German chancellor.
Oh yes, I remember all the debates and
Yeah, no, it was debate. She attacked us very forcefully that we are xenophobic and racist, and that we don't want Syrians and Afghans and so on. And Czech government those days, so it's exactly 10 years, 2015. So there's no, but these people, nothing against them. We will happily help, but influx of young men from different culture, it will never work. And we were right. But other places, they got real problems. Look at London.
Yeah. No, it's
Germany.
Yeah.
So logically, we open the doors extreme one way. So now pendulum is going the other side. You see the debate in the United States, not only southern border, but overall debate. In Europe, we are starting to having it because, unlike United States, where you basically have an omnipotent presidential republic, and president is real, sort of like king on the throne from structural perspective. In Europe, in most countries, we have a coalition governments, which sort of like, slow things down. But you see Nigel Farage in Britain, you see AfD in Germany, you see Confederacja in Poland, even in Czech Republic, we have like, the political parties that are super strongly against immigration. I don't think that extreme can win over extreme. Then hopefully at the end, the pendulum will go somewhere in the middle. But again, people are naturally worried because we got open borders big time. So now people vote against them. Natural.
Yeah. And I mean now with Russia's invasion of Ukraine and China also seeing all this divide in the West, Iran as well. It seems that it creates the perfect environment for hybrid warfare coming from Russia, disinformation campaigns. Do you see that going on?
Yeah, for sure. We, as I said in the beginning, we are largest media group in the Central and Eastern Europe. We run TV stations from Denmark and Sweden to Bulgaria, or for example, we are the only Western media group in Moldova. And not only Bulgaria, but Moldova. There will be crucial elections at the end of September. Let's see whether Maya Sandu will prevail, and with her the pro-Western course, or maybe Russians will win. Yeah. So as a media guys, we see influx of brutal disinformation media.
Mm.
Not only media as a websites. Yeah, algorithms are more potent. Now in Europe, now we have a big debate about TikTok, and you rightly mentioned Iran. It's not only actors from China or Russia, but Iranians are
Yeah.
definitely spreading anti-Semitism and hatred throughout the West, for sure. By the way, I hear the messaging from Washington about that, every opinion shall be allowed. In the same time, I would be cautious. At the end, if we want to defend our democracy, we need to have a stick. We need to pay our fair price for defense. From this perspective, I think that Donald J. Trump was sort of in his brutal way the healing force to kick our ass to spend more. But there is not only battlefield on the ground, there is also hybrid battlefield.
Yeah.
And this is happening everywhere. And I think that we have three fathers of propaganda. We got Joseph Goebbels in the Nazi Third Reich, serving as a minister of propaganda of Hitler, who basically this traditional propaganda. Basically, I'm trying to sell you my message
Mm.
and block other messages. But
Yeah.
then what's happening now, and Vladimir Putin is expert. He doesn't want to sell us his message. Yes, to certain groups of people. But basically, what he's trying to do is create such information chaos that you will believe nothing. That's
Yeah.
the idea. That everything will be relativized. And from this perspective, as a old-fashioned conservative in the United States, I will be sort of like Rockefeller Republican, old-fashioned one. So I think that we need to protect our values. We need to protect, our main philosophies. In your case, in case of United States, all the big values, starting with Thomas Jefferson and Abraham Lincoln and FDR and Ronald Reagan, and a big speech of Reagan against communism, and also about American primacy. So you want to protect it. The same here. So again, coming back to Washington messaging, especially J.D. Vance is quite out loud on it, and also Elon Musk. That I don't think that everything shall be allowed, especially when we know that it's come from malign actors.
Yes. So there's something I found out, and I was like, I mean, as you know, I work a lot on China in the Middle East and Africa. So the Chinese are very unpopular in Africa. They do a lot of these big investment projects. A lot of them fail. They don't deliver on time. There's usually displacement of population. At some points, it creates conflicts. And because there isn't like a structure or system that actually is laser focused on what China is doing, there is this perception that everything China does is great and that people in Africa and the Middle East love it. And so it seems that they also play on the perception that they're very powerful.
Yeah,
Especially, yeah. So is it do you see that happening in Europe as well when it comes to Russia?
Power is a shadow. And longer your shadow, more powerful you are perceived. So power is imagination.
Yeah.
It's like, whole nuclear deterrence is about imagination. So this is similar. And yes, Russia is great in showing this long cloak of shadow. The same China. Yeah, the same China. So I think chapeau to them, how they are running the propaganda, how they are able to read people. Yeah, from this perspective, they are sort of luckier than us. Definitely don't want to change our system for theirs, but they are lucky in one perspective that Sergei Lavrov is running the show for 20 years. So they are super experienced chess players. Whereas in our case, what's the life cycle of ministers of foreign affairs? 2-3 years. In case of US, if we, and it's both parties, it's GOP and Democrats, how quickly people are cycled through the system. So from this perspective, they can learn from their own mistakes, and they can try again and again. China did a lot of mistakes, especially, when Belt and Road was announced. So now we are talking 2013, 15, 17. Why? Because China did what China never done in its history. They tried to export their values.
Yeah.
But Chinese values are so distinctive, and it's connected in with their, how they think about words, indirectness of debates, and of course the Chinese slash alphabet. So it's so complex that China is not able to sell values, lifestyle, and this was big mistake. I think that the President Xi learned from it, because it cost him dearly. Both when they try to sell their Confucian institutes across the world,
Yeah.
and then in the same time when it sort of like backlash, then the era of these wolf diplomats.
Yes, yeah, they were very aggressive.
So I think that Chinese learned, and now they are trying to be more subtle. Rather work with their e-commerce companies. So they are now export Temu, Shein, and JD.com. So basically, the mass market, which works well, because when you are trying to sell Huawei, the telco towers, at the end, this is national security. This is will go to spotlight of every government. But if you are selling toys for children, nobody.
Yeah, that's hard. Yeah.
And the same with automobiles. Yeah. Chinese electric cars are high quality. They are cheap. Complicated to stop it. So I think that they learned. But yes, you are right, and I see it in multiple parts of the world that in some areas like Africa, they are sloppy.
Yeah, it's very noticeable, and I'm always thinking, how come the United States and others don't take advantage of these things and highlight them, and it's
for sake of our or your audience, me and Zineb, we debated few weeks ago, on about soft power. Do I agree with current U.S. administration that U.S. soft power start to be overextended, too soft, without main mission, too expensive, buying and supporting everything? Yes, for sure. In the same time, soft power, if you are lucky, like United States, that your values and lifestyles are indeed exportable.
Yeah.
Why Iranians hate so much Coca-Cola and McDonald's? Because then you are becoming Americanized. So I think that from this perspective, I hope that after this big disruption, US soft power will come back in some form or shape, because at the end, this is the cheapest currency that US has. Everything else is more expensive.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about our conversation about soft power because my idea is there's so much dysfunctions in the hard power that even if the United States today wants to have a soft power, it's not going to work. There's a huge mismatch. But then, as you said, yeah, it's such a cheap currency. It's too I mean, I might have to re-edit and make another article, but it's a real problem. But talking back to the what you said about the disruption, because Trump is a big disruption. I mean, in his style and also how he thinks. I mean, you can see now things with India, and he favors personal relationships over institutions, and it adds a lot of uncertainty. How do you think, I mean, in Europe or US allies and also businesses, how are they adapting to this?
Uh, I don't think that Trump is a bad man. I think he is who he is. It's not a game. In many, and I spent lot of time talking to your colleagues at Hudson and Heritage, and I have friends in your administration. I dined with Elbridge Colby, etc. So I really think that he doesn't like, or even we can use word hate, the war. It's not a game. He really tried in his very disruptive style to do something. And yes, his attention span is not very long, so he's moving from one thing to another. But I don't think he's a bad man. He is who he is. And from this perspective, he doesn't have some form of mask. So he's not pretending, which means you can read him. And by the way, it's obvious he doesn't mind to be read if results go his way.
Yeah.
And we see friends, allies, and also foes using it. President Stubb might be from teeny tiny country of Finland, but because he is a keen golfer, he goes with Trump well along, and it works. It works. And yes, of course, he wants to play golf with Trump to talk politics, but Trump is happy because this is his number one hobby. Similar way, Trump lies. Trump loves flattery. This is, I'm not saying anything new. And if you know how to play it, Mark Rutte, Secretary General of NATO, Trump was so happy that he is reposting his private messaging, but also from U.S. circles. Mike Huckabee, U.S. ambassador to Israel, the similar. Trump was so happy that he reposted private messages. So if you know how to use Trump, so then you create opportunity to do something. And by the way, if I see a learning curve with someone, is for sure Zelensky.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah.
Zelensky coming to US in February, it was disaster. And I understand that, he has a country under the siege, horrible war, everything. But, politics is a hard game. It's you have to adapt, especially now when we don't have a soft power and everything is about much more realpolitik, or as French say, raison d'état. You need to play along, especially when you are in the private house of the most powerful man in the world. And especially when cameras are on.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
But Zelensky learned, and I think what Zelensky and European leaders did few weeks ago in US, again, chapeau, hats off. And at the end, they won, and Trump was happy as well. Win-win.
Yeah.
But, of course, not only friends and allies can read this. And I would not underestimate Lavrov. I would not underestimate foreign advisor of Vladimir Putin, Ushakov, and others. They know how to play it. They show it in Alaska.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like attention game for Trump's attention, especially when he is really doing stuff super quickly. But I think that there is a playbook I would call it Trump playbook, how to play Trump. And again, he doesn't mind.
Yeah,
You just
no,
play
yeah,
by her
it's very
rules.
transparent. Yeah.
It's super transparent. I think from this perspective, people like JD Vance are more complex. They are saying something, they are thinking something. With Trump, it's straightforward. When
Yeah.
he's happy, he's happy. When he's angry, he's angry.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that, this is how we shall do it.
I was actually very interested in your assessment of the Alaska summit. How did you see it?
Yeah, it was
It-
big. So okay, how you know your audience, they read Western press, they watch Fox News or CNN and so on. So let me talk about something else.
Mhm.
Just yesterday, I got meeting with our ambassador, Czech Republic ambassador to Russia, who is good dear friend of mine, and he is super skilled in reading Russians. And I asked exactly the same question, and he told me that Russians open champagnes after Alaska.
Oh, really?
A big time. And again, from their perspective, it's simple. They are back at the table.
Mhm.
For them, it's sort of like Alaska is sort of like resemblance of Yalta 45. Big boys at one table, dividing the world, talking about big boys issues. Yes, there were nothing conclusive. But messaging for Russians is very important domestically. We are now treated equally. Don't think that, for example, and it was everywhere on the social media that Foreign Minister Lavrov, when they arrived to Alaska, to Anchorage, he got T-shirts
Yeah.
with CCCP, Soviet Union,
Yeah.
which is again, this is about Mother Russia, Imperial Russia. So that's important victory for them. And second one also, not only um, um, Donald Trump and his marketing guys understand the flood the zone strategy.
Mm.
So basically, that you are disseminating as many messaging as possible very, very quickly. Russians understand it as well. So basically, they use the Alaskan picture also towards Europe. See, you are fighting us, and Donald Trump is our friend. So they use this divide and conquer tactics in hybrid warfare. So simply, Russians were very, very happy. Europeans were worried, but fortunately, a few days after Alaska, not even a week after, this beautiful photo op at Oval Office, everybody happy, and now I think that we regained momentum.
Okay, and that's very interesting because they as you said the flood strategy and also confusing. Are we friends with Trump? Are we not friends
Yeah,
with
exactly.
Trump? You should be worried because we meet him before you and all of these things. It's also yeah they're really struggling domestically because I spoke to a few people and it seems that if Trump if Putin loses or if there's just a glimpse that he cannot push against the Ukrainians as hard as he hoped for. It's really a collapse. I mean, it comes with his regime.
You just mentioned a very important thing. Let's say that we are playing poker, you and me. Poker, and we are playing for whole night. Smoking cigars or shisha or something, and drinking Turkish tea. So poker is game within game. We are playing one game, but
Yeah,
then there is a sequence of games, and then it's not only about our cards in the hand and on the table and our bluffing, but also power of money we have in front of ourselves. At the beginning of the night, you have $1,000, I have $1,000. But if you keep winning, I will have to adjust my strategy, and you will adjust yours as well, because now you
mhm,
can push with the power of money. The same when we are playing this big international game on superpower, game of superpowers. For Trump to and for his people, especially for people at DOD and select committee on China that used to be led by Mike Gallagher, great man, a lot of good stuff on China. But at the end, for American administration to fight China, or let's say Russia, it's important, but it's not omnipotent necessity. When US sort of threw the gauntlet to President Xi in form of trade war, if Trump decides tomorrow, he can do something else. But China's regime cannot stop. So the stakes for them are much, much higher, which means also their pain points are much higher. They are able to bit their teeth and to fight. Because it's not only about import, export, and trade balance, what's important for Trump or Peter Navarro. It's about survival of the regime. This kind of game. Because in Confucian world and world of this, we are the political party, Communist Party, that have mandate from heavens. So we will be legitimate if we are successful. If you are not successful, we are not legitimate. The same with Russians. By the way, President Xi and President Putin, they are same age.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Exactly same age. So and they are super powerful, and President Putin is probably the richest man in the world. So what else they have in their lives for the next few years when they will be healthy enough to do something, to build their legacy? And in case of Putin, it's this imperial Russia. He won't stop.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes so much sense because because Lavrov, the way he talks, because I track every single thing he says in Africa, and he is a real student of the Soviet Union, and he wants to do what the Soviet Union was never able to do, which is to go to Syria, to go to Libya, to actually have military bases and so on. And I mean, it makes sense that why he stayed with Putin for so long. He also shares that vision of the imperial Russia, with honor and grace again, and all of these things. And so Putin cares about that immensely, obviously.
So because let's say, and you are expert on Middle East, so let's do Middle Eastern analogy. If Putin would be more Western, what he would do now? Trump want to embrace him. He already got some land in the east of Ukraine. He showed the world the elbows and some power of Russia. On the other side, they wanted to be in Kiev in 3 days. They are nowhere, but still. So he would sort of copycat, Yasser Arafat.
Yeah.
Famous Nobel Prize for nothing. So if he would like to go to Stockholm and with Trump and hug each other and get Nobel Prize and big medal, and he could do that. He could do sort of, let's call it North-South Korea scenario, that there would be some demilitarized zone. De facto, he would run Crimea and Eastern Ukraine, and let's see what future will bring. But he won't do that. And then let's see what Trump will do. But if I think that here, neocons on the GOP side, I understand that in current MAGA world, neoconservatism is not sexy. But I would actually listen to people like John Bolton. I would listen to them, what they are saying about how Putin is operating, and I think that current administration can learn something from it.
And I leaving a little bit that aside, but also a little bit connected. I think, I mean, since you see all the things on the media, you see this this AI, basically AI slop, AI videos, AI fabricated news. The thing is that because things like Grok and also they're learning from what we give them, and they fabricate things. And so now there are two problems where you have people who intentionally promote things that are false, are anti-American and so on. But you also have now AI polluted information.
Yes.
And it seems that this thing is only going to get more and more complicated. Do you have any thoughts on that and how to counter it? Or
I think that the next big disruptions, or we can call it even black swans, I would say I do believe that there will be 3 black swans coming upon us. You just mentioned one, AI, and it's not only about the information. I think that it will really change, overall world, the labor markets, and then because of that, it will change politics. Because if people will be obsolete in many industries,
yeah,
Secretary Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce, is talking about these beautiful factories filled with robots. But if you have a robots, there are these beautiful high-paying jobs for Americans. This reindustrialization. If you have an AI robot, it resembles more Matrix, the movie.
yeah.
So then I do believe that this is new industrial revolution upon us from every single perspective happening. That's one thing. Then the one big swan. Second black swan, I do believe that cybersecurity is new weapon, and it can be weaponized. Banks, even here in Czech Republic, we have a cybersecurity attacks from Russia. Trying to get ransom from hospitals. It's not complicated. Everything is now e-health, so we don't have physical medical records. Everything is online, or everything is in computers. If you block computers, doctors, are not able to operate because they don't have a data. So I think that cybersecurity is another black swan coming, and it's already happening every year. There are more and more cybersecurity attacks. And a third black swan, I think the most important black swan, we don't know about.
Yeah,
It will be something that nobody is thinking about. Think about 9/11, 2008 economic crisis, COVID. Yeah, all Russian experts, not a single one believed that Russia will attack Ukraine in February 2022 because it was so illogical.
Yeah, I remember.
And everything that happened. And who would think 5 years ago, 2020, 2021, that the world will stop because of virus? And it happened.
Yeah.
And the governments closed the airports, closed the cities. I lived in Hong Kong throughout the whole COVID.
Oh God.
When you wanted to enter the city, you landed at Hong Kong airport, and then 2 or 3 weeks of quarantine.
Yeah.
So in a small hotel room. So and it happened. So I think that this most the number one black swan we don't know.
No, it's very it's only logical to think that way. And I mean, before we close up, I was wondering, I mean, you love classical music and books and so on. I mean, which book you would say, or thinkers you think have really shaped the way you approach these questions and how you think, really?
Again, I would try to simplify into one liner, and then I will talk a little bit more. I would say my one liner would be: life is too short to read bad books.
That's so true, yeah.
So I don't read another I want to reveal everything book from yet another press secretary of the White House.
Yeah.
So I don't do that. So I think, of course, most of the time what I read is position papers and policy memo and M&A pitches. So then when I have a time, I go to the basics. I read Churchill, from the beginning to end, everything what he wrote. I love Reagan, Abraham Lincoln, Jefferson, of course. This is where, this is US. I love Aristoteles. I hate Plato because Plato is extremist And good conservatives shouldn't be embracing extremists. So for me, the golden rule of Aristotle is let's be in the middle, let's, think twice.
Yeah.
I'm Aristotelian. So and German philosophy a lot. Hegel I love. Also, I believe that we shall know our enemy. So I read Karl Marx, everything.
Yeah, it's good.
I read Lenin because of that as well. Um, Friedrich the Great, Clausewitz, um, Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah.
So I think that, again, coming to back, I just again mentioned Marx, that everything repeats itself.
Mm.
I think that we shall be humble enough to understand that everything already happened throughout the history, and we can use these analogies. And history is I do believe history is the best teacher for us.
Yeah.
And I do believe that religion has a place in the
Yeah.
world and political processes. And, Sunni, Shia, Hindu, Christianity, Catholic, and evangelicals, they have a bigger struggle in the past among them than now. So I think that we should learn from the history. So this is my belief. The same about movies. I'm
Yeah.
very old-fashioned, so starting with Casablanca and finishing with, I mentioned Lawrence of Arabia. Book is great as well, T.E. Lawrence, Seven Pillars of Wisdom. I
Yeah.
recommend for any Orientalist. Max Weber.
Oh, yes. I actually was reading them recently. A friend of mine sent me a huge text of one of his seminars when he was talking about disenchantment and science and so on. Yeah, he's great. I love Weber.
And that's why I do think that classical education in some form has a meaning. I studied mainly in UK, in US as well, but Cambridge is my alma mater. And I like this British focus on, they call it PPE, politics, philosophy, and economy.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends who studied philosophy now they work for JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley because it gives you some thought process, logical process. So I do like it. I think it makes sense to embrace it. So I recommend it to everyone.
Okay, great. Yeah, and it was a real pleasure to discuss with you today. Thank you so much for your time and please everyone, Jan Růžička is on Twitter. Follow him. He has also his podcast and tweets a lot of interesting things. Thank you, Jan.
It's been a pleasure and see you soon in DC.
Yes.